What's up, everybody? We're going to get started here in a couple minutes. We're going to be doing a little painting stream, study stream. If you guys were in here last week, you guys would know that we did a painting of an ear last week, and one of the biggest things that I talked with my uncle Maury about, as well as my dad, was the light that I had on it. I had like a very reflective surface under, so I've switched that out for like a black kind of felt type of surface. Or I guess it's like a cotton, it's like a shirt. So just to block some of the reflected light so I can get some cleaner shadow shapes. Um, it seems like I've gotten, I don't know, just a lot of that ambient light bouncing in. We're kind of in a small room, so controlling the light has been hard between having like the lighting that's going to help for a setup on my canvas, and then also having like the lighting individually for the subject. It's just a little hard because the camera can't work as well in like super low lighting. Generally, I would just pretty much keep one light source that's kind of big enough to use both of them and just try to block off as much light as I can onto the subject. So yeah, we're just waiting another couple minutes, let some people roll in and stuff. I know the stream time at 6 o'clock is a little early, so some people are going to be trickling in. So we'll give it a second and we'll hop on. What's up, Wes? Yeah, Wes. I'm gonna be doing the critique stream this Thursday. I found my iPad yesterday, so anybody who's waiting on a critique, you guys will get that this Thursday. Um, it might be a little bit later. It might be 8 o'clock. We got some people flying in to do some content, and they're leaving around 4:30, 5 o'clock. So, kind of, I guess, based on that time, we'll see. But I'm pretty sure the stream's going to be at 8 o'clock because I think their flight is at 6. So we'll probably, somewhere in that time period, we'll still be busy. But we've got a few people in here now, so I'm going to go ahead and hop on this painting. So we had an issue with the camera that we usually put on the like subjects that you guys can see that. So it's just going to be my painting today, but it'll be a little bit bigger. So you guys will get to see, in a little bit more detail, some of the brush strokes I make and stuff. So feel free to stop and ask any questions. And yeah, sweet. Thank you guys. We'll go ahead and switch over to the main cam now. if we add this to the stage. How about now? Can everybody hear me? If we add this to the stage. Okay, sweet. So everybody can hear? Cool. So yeah, like I was saying, so we're just working on this like foreground area, just like this. So I'm gonna go in and just kind of scumble in a bass tone without any real measurement of how dark it is. I just want it to be dark to have a contrast. It'll make my measurement process a little bit easier.
Gold Peak Tea is brewed with real tea leaves and real sugarcane to make workday moments feel like weekend.
Austin, can you go turn the music off? Yeah, this is too loud now at this point. Thank you, dude.
Whichever one does. Gold Peak Tea. Real is gold. Click or tap to get real.
All right, so that should kind of be enough for now, just to get a general idea of the shapes. All right, so now I'm just squinting my eyes down and I'm looking now at this kind of rectangular shape, and I'm gonna start picking out the prominent shadow shapes. So I know for one, it has almost a little bit of a curve down at the bottom. So I'm gonna cut away, and always when we're doing, this phase of our painting, we're trying to use nothing but straight lines. So if you guys notice, I'm like straight, 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 and I'm trying to look at the angle opposed to trying to like make a curve that works. Just trying to break it down into smaller bite-sized pieces. So now the main shapes that I see is, we kind of have the edge right here. We have like the top of a brow, goes down with the nose. It kind of cuts across right where we have the kind of ball of the nose there. Cuts back in under the nose. And then we hit this kind of arc that is the bottom of the cast there. So now with all that, I'm just gonna wash a general tone over everything. And I'm just gonna knock it back just a little bit. Now from here, I'm picking up a smaller brush. I'm getting kind of a gray tone put down. And I'll start kind of drawing in some more specific shapes now that I have my kind of main dark and light put down. So that'll basically be going back through now and just making things a bit more specific. At this part of the process, I've definitely slowed down a little bit so that I can make some more accurate measurements. It's important to note that I'm still keeping everything, done with straight lines, because it's just easier to measure overall. So there's actually a bit of light tone. So I'm carving that shape out now. That's that light shape. Start marking around the bottom of this. I think I'm going to extend it a little bit lower. So if you can see, it's kind of like a bunch of waves of more and more specific kind of ideas. So now I'm going to start kind of boxing in this outside so I can start working on the actual tones of what the background will be. I'm going to start with the background because a lot of the darkest darks are lying there. So like in this area, we're pretty much going to be full to black, and same thing with this cast shadow here. So if I get those in right now, it's going to help me out, you know, so much when I'm looking at what I want the values of the inside to be, because I'll already know what full black looks like. So I'm judging everything based off of what full black is. And that's kind of a more absolute way of thinking about it. And I'm still keeping my paint real thin. Sweet. So now I'm gonna pick up my brush that's a bit bigger again and add a lot of darkness in here. Sweet. It's that little cast shadow. Now, I know this may seem like kind of obvious, but always, this painting, I have my light source coming from this direction. So generally, your background, the shadow shapes are almost flipped by what your foreground is. So you'll notice that like the whole left side of this object is light, and it's the reverse for the background because the light is being casted this way. So this area is collecting all the light, and it's actually still dark on the right side of the background because the light is hitting the subject. So we're casting a shadow this direction, but the light's actually hitting in that same direction. So I know when I was kind of just first studying light, that was something that was notable to me, at least, so I figure I'd mention it. And that can also help you if you're doing a tattoo or a painting, drawing, whatever, and you have limited background to do, just make the background on the opposite side of all the shadows darker, and it'll immediately give the whole thing more form. Hope that makes sense. It's kind of like a little trick you can do. So I want to keep it dark right here, but it does get a bit lighter like right over in this area. So I'm going to, without putting more paint on my brush, I'm going to make that kind of this darkness, and then I'll start working the rest of the foreground and background, and we'll see if we have to go darker on this or if it worked out. So I'm really just trying to keep a pretty dry brush while I'm doing all this. Yeah, I mean, like here and here almost have the same type of value. So let's see. It gets a smidge darker right down here at this bottom. So put that in and blend it out, because that'll make this kind of connection here have a lot of contrast. And when I squint down, the side of this wall and the foreground just blend completely together, so I'll keep that way. And then just get this blend out so we don't see a hard stop there. So now what I'm going to do to get this kind of lighter black value is I'm not going to start adding white into it. I'm actually just going to thin it down. Now the reason why I'm just thinning it down is I'd rather leave more canvas under it than make it more opaque, so that my main subject gets to be the most opaque part of the painting. And by opaque, I just think like thickest, right? So all my thick, big meaty brush strokes I want to have on the main subject, and then kind of where you can see some canvas coming through over here is generally what I like to keep for these backgrounds and foregrounds. So you can see it's real dark. So we'll sketch it in, and then I'm going to wipe away. Kind of keep it nice and thin there. Might go a bit lighter. Sweet. So now it's the value that I wanted, but it's not like thick paint. And then now there's enough of that paint off to just kind of dry brush the rest of this in, which I'll go ahead and do. And I'm not really worried about getting rid of all these boundaries that I've done, because like you should be confident, like you drew it one time, you just draw it again. And I'll definitely go in and refine the edges of these shadow shapes to make them more specific. But for now, overall, just trying to get this to a point where we can start the fun stuff. And I want to flatten all this out because I don't want any like interesting shapes going on here. Like I really just, I hope people don't look here. I hope they look at the main subject. So I'm trying to just make it as kind of soulless as possible down there so that people don't look. And I'll break up the edges where they need to be broken up. Kind of keep them hard where they need to stay hard so that pretty much, you know, what I'd like to come back and do to this is fix up the edge and make sure that it's all correct. But yeah, that's kind of basically what that cast shadow looks like and all that stuff. So I might come in here and actually smooth down some of this black because there's like lots of texture and it's catching lots of light, and I feel like it's going to compete with the foreground. So I'm just taking a dry brush and I'm just like very lightly with the tips smoothing everything out so that we have a background that's just a little less interesting, which is good. That's what we're going for. And same thing down here with this cast shadow. Take this opportunity to do some edge quality stuff, which the edge is dissipated a lot right here. It gets a bit harder. It's dissipated kind of right here. And then as it goes under, we're getting kind of this unique shape. Sweet. Might come here and make this a little harder and then a little softer again. Same thing up here. Just go a little harder. Kind of break that edge up. I'll do about the same thing here. Okay, because when I squint, this kind of just disappears. All right, so now I'm gonna go ahead and wipe my palette down so that it's nice and clean and I don't have any like brown or black in there, so I can start introducing my lighter tones. And I'll make sure I clean out my brush so I'm not dirtying my pigment with that black. So now looking at this, I'm really seeing two main, values. It's kind of the inside of this and then the outside. So I'm gonna mix two values up, thin them down like just the littlest bit, and kind of get them both mapped in, and then start to chip away at some of these other shapes that are going on over here that just aren't as important right now. So I'll start with those shapes that are a bit darker. So right now I'm trying to mix, as correct to the value as I can, because I've cued my black in. So I kind of have no excuse to not have a, accurate value. So I'm almost like kind of trying to hold it up and look at it up against the canvas and maybe make a small mark. Yeah, I think this is about right. So now just the tips of my brush go into some mineral spirits, and then I introduce that into the mixture. So what that's gonna do is it's gonna make the pigment just a little bit easier to spread onto the canvas, but it's not going to make it like all slippery, and it's going to protect me in this mineral spirits. It breaks down the paint, breaks down the oils that make this take forever to dry, and it'll dry up a little bit quicker. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of start putting these shapes in, getting a little bit more specific. Every single time I add value in, I get like just slightly more specific. I don't know if anybody's been on the first stream and watched them all till now, but I've gotten significantly quicker in the past 4 weeks just doing these little studies. Definitely painting from life, man. Like painting from just what you see from your eyes is literally it's the best way to study. There's no camera having an influence. Nothing. It's just directly what light is on it, and you kind of learn to digest that yourself. So now what I'm going to try to do is kind of get rid of some of this like overly hard edges by just kind of pulling a dry brush down the edge. Sweet. So now what we're going to do is kind of clean out my brush again. And now from here, I'm going to add a bunch more white into this mixture so I can get another value. And these values, like, so of course I was like, I'm going to get it as close to, you know, the subject as I can. And what I mean by that is like the most average. So like this entire shadow shape isn't this one value, but that's kind of the average of that entire area. So I'm looking for the same thing with my light tone. What's kind of just an average light tone that, you know, as I continue to add shapes, I'll make shapes that are just a little darker, shapes that are just a little bit lighter, and start laying them in to create this illusion. I'm using this lighter pigment to kind of cut away decisions that I don't like. So that's kind of this averaged version of this. So now I'm looking at kind of what shapes are off and where can I kind of start adjusting things and what are the next kind of shadow shapes I should be looking for. So I know that I'm a little bit off on this kind of bridge here. So right here we have like kind of this little shape. Then we have a smaller cut in. Then it kind of comes that way. It kind of stays like this. Then cuts in a little harder. Then cuts out a little harder as well. So that's a little bit more accurate there. Okay. So now what I'm gonna start doing is I'm mixing kind of an intermediary gray tone, and I'm gonna start kind of adding in some, you know, additional shapes that I see. So we have kind of a brow coming this way. And I've done so much measurement pretty much at this point that I'm starting to feel, you know, comfortable with a lot of the decisions that I'm making because I have a lot of information. It should be equal to the other side. That shape there. Just kind of measuring. So this has to go up. Sweet. And then now I'm actually we're actually going to start putting in some lighter shapes. So like this area and kind of the bridge of the nose going over here, we're actually going to use a much lighter pigment. This is almost the highlight of this whole piece is right here. Now I'm trying to not worry too much about edge quality at this point, so I'll be able to go back in and fix all of that. Get some value here. And we don't get quite that light, but we get a little bit lighter right there. And right there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out a dry brush. I'm just gonna work on some of these edge qualities. So where can I kind of tighten this up a little bit? A little too hard at this point. There's a lot of paint on, so I'll have to mix values kind of in between these. Like that. And come back in a little bit darker. Fix that edge. So I'm starting to squint down and see some of the form coming through, but I'll be honest, this might not be one of my best ones, you know? You have, I think I was talking about this in a video that I did the other day, but it's like a batting average. Like every day that you study, you know, you might be a little better one day, a little bit worse one day, but what you're trying to do is always bring up that average aptitude. And like my boy Austin always says, sometimes you're the fly, sometimes you're the fly swatter. And today, I was the fly, but that's okay. I'm gonna try to blend out some of these. We're at about almost an hour now, so we're kind of getting to that territory where I should be wrapping this up. These are like hour-long studies, maybe hour and some change, but just kind of break up some edges, and then we can sit and talk, and if anybody has any questions. All right, so that might be where I call it today, guys. So kind of sit down in front of the camera. I'll look at it with you guys, and I'll say what I think maybe I did right, and a couple of things I did wrong, and maybe just break this edge up a little bit. Whew. All right, so how does this look on camera? Let me take a look here. What kind of small brush do I use? So for like the smallest brush I would ever use is like a 2 filbert. Pretty much everything I use is going to be filbert, which is basically just a round top. Like today I used a 2, a 4, and a 6. The red one that you guys seen me use is that's the 2. And then the 4 is the more like soft brush one. I like synthetic brushes, like those are totally fine to use. I've had like real like sable brushes and stuff like that, and I mean they're good. They like last longer, but you have to like condition them and really take care of them, and they can be super expensive. So yeah. I mean, looking at this today, like I'm happy with kind of the way the background turned out. I like the kind of the sense of space that I gave, but I think maybe I kind of got lost in that a little bit, where I was just a little bit over conscious of that I under measured and I under cued my value on the main subject and kind of ran out of time to get everything going in that hour constraint. So, I mean, I fixed some of the lighting issues from last week, but, maybe a little bit of a focus issue today. And then honestly, guys, you just have off days where you're not feeling it as much. But, you know, it's always like these are the hardest days to get through. And like for somebody like me who's been studying art for a long time, I kind of know that these are the days that you grow the most because, you know, thinking about it and going into doing this painting, you know, it's been a long day. It's been a stressful day at work. But, you know, you got to come in and put your reps in. And these are kind of the days that you grow the most. So when the odds aren't stacked against me, when I'm not having a bad day, when, you know, I didn't wake up an hour late for work or whatever your problem or issue is, you know, not using that as an excuse not to do the thing that you're supposed to do is going to help you out a lot. And, you know, these streams, and Austin can attest to this too, like we're adding this on to like what we do. So, you know, we've had a full day of work and then we come and we sit down and we do these studies and stuff. And, you know, he's streaming, moderating, making sure, you know, we had technical difficulties and stuff today. But just kind of always putting in those reps, regardless of how you feel. Like just fuck it, stick to the plan. Like, you know, you're gonna have a million excuses tomorrow too, not to do, you know, what you want to do. So I hopped on anyways, and, you know, we tried to do the best that we possibly could. And I know that these will be the days that I make the most progress. Because next week when I hop in on Monday, for one, oh, you got my nose. Dude, this guy with the dad jokes. I love it. So yeah, like, you know, when I hop on here and I'm comfortable and, you know, in a better spirit, better mood, you know, my artwork's going to look that much better because I'm still doing it, still studying, still trying as hard as I can, kind of against all those odds. So if anybody's kind of in that same boat where kind of right now you're going through, you know, for me, it's been a down week. You know, this past week is, you know, it's just been a hard week, busy week. So, you know, you're tired, but you continue to kind of push through that. And that's what ends up kind of making you a better artist over the course of a year. And yeah, like Tastic, amazing artist on here. And he's the same way, like, you know, he's doing his studies. He's got his sketchbook out. He's always looking at creative ideas to come up with, so that he's really maximizing his best days. And it, you know, I'm not saying I'm a great artist, but that's definitely a quality that great artists have. Kind of that ability to, not even great artists, just people that are great at whatever they do. They kind of continue to have that standard no matter what they feel like. So I hope this one helped you guys. And, you know, I love it. Like, I love that we get to hop on the live and you guys get to see, you know, somebody that's kind of this far into their career, that's kind of got this much going for them. You know, I'm decent enough, and kind of see that everybody has that day that's off. Everybody has that day that they're not their best. And I don't know, I guess I hope you get some encouragement from my little fail today. But we'll be back on Thursday. I had an issue with my iPad. It was lost. It's now found. It was in a stack of books at my house. So thank you to my beautiful wife, Alyssa, for finding that for me, cleaning up the house, cleaning up the books that I left. So yeah, we should be on for the study stream this Thursday. If you have stuff that you want, or not study stream, critique stream. If you have stuff that you want critiqued, go ahead and send it in. If you're waiting for your critique, just wait on it. I'm going to get to it, I promise. It's just been a little bit of a crazy kind of past week, 2 weeks, trying to get all this stuff done. So thank you guys for putting up with the audio. Thank you guys for putting up with me. And thank you guys so much. We'll see you Thursday.
I don't know why the microphone was working.
Yeah, that's weird, huh?
I just don't know. I have not, because the thing was lighting up, your thing was lighting up, like
It was getting bars on this too.
just
It was, yeah, I don't know, just today. It's like one of those technology things, I guess. It just didn't do it today.
weird.
Yeah, weird.